democracy. The democracy is a government which is of the people, for the people, and by the people. It is a system where no one is exploited and everyone is assured a fair standard of living and everyone is assured equal opportunities according to their capabilities. The strength of a democracy depends on the character and intelligence of its citizens. And education helps in understanding the democratic values like liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. It helps the people to understand their social, political, economic, and cultural problems. So let us try to know more about the correlation between education and democracy. So before starting, there is a small request to all the speakers. Please be there and try to listen to what your co-speakers are speaking. And after that, you can start. And please listen. If you have any questions, you can raise questions. If you disagree or at some point with your previous speaker, you can raise questions over that. So let's start with Nahid Raza, sir. Please start with the discussion. So please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to participate in this debate. Education is modification of behavior, and democracy, as ma'am has stated, government by the people. So we need to modify the behavior of the people so that they can participate in the formation of the government. It is very simple. So what should we have? What ingredients should we have? First of all, we should develop, inculcate, and foster clear thinking among students. If they are able to think clearly, they can deliver clearly, they can participate in a better ways, and they can understand other people. Second, clearness in speech and writing. We should have clarity while teaching in education, and children should develop clarity while speaking and writing. If clarity is there, proper communication is there, proper expression is there, people will understand. So democracy could be robust through education. Art of living with community is very essential. That the best art is to live together. If we are living together, we can form government together, and we are getting educated. So we are getting our students ready for a proper participation in democracy. So living together is the best art, and we should keep on motivating our children to help each other to live with your peer, with the classmates, batchmates. Sense of true patriotism. We have to inculcate true patriotism so that children are having habit of again helping and thinking towards and working for the nation, right? And their interests are secondary, whereas the interest of the country are primary. Development of sense of world citizenship. Of course, we need to have an outlook of being cosmopolitan so that we can think about our brothers and sisters, the ones maybe hungry, maybe in need of, maybe they are in war, maybe in confliction. So we need to think about them, and we should have empathy and sympathy for them. Vocational efficiency means we should develop capability among ourselves so that we can help technically, right? Developing personality means if we are participating in our community in better ways, we can help each other, because helping each other makes the democracy robust, vibrant, and better functioning. Yeah, of course, training of leadership is very essential in education democracy. We can do that. And John Dewey has rightly said that before moving towards education in democracy, we should tear up the habits, prejudices we have, so that we can develop ourselves, our community, and world citizenship in a better ways, right? And one more thing that Dewey has said, no, to not to separate intellectual with the ones who are not thinking, right? We are human being, and we need to have better brains. We have better brains, and we are different from machines, because we think, we imagine, and we have humanity to help each other. These are my beginning remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Devi ma'am, actually, there was just a small announcement for you. I think you were out of the session. So, because it is a debate, So what is expected is you should be also listening to your co-speakers, what they have to speak, and if you have any questions, you can be asking them. So now it is over to you, ma'am. What do you think about education and democracy? How education will help in like strengthening the democracy? What are your views about it?
Okay, thank you so much, Putra and Jum. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all people who are watching us right now. And I'd love to express my gratitude to IDYM for organizing this event and also to all speakers and moderator and participants. Today, actually, I'm not feeling well, but I hope my voice is audible clearly. So thank you so much to the previous speaker, already explained about some points between education and the democracy. So in my point of view, the correlation between education and democracy is, yeah, it's a hotly debated topic. On one hand, for example, some people believe that education promotes democracy. And in addition, others believe that education alone cannot promote democracy and that other factors are involved because yeah, we all know that it's not only one point to get involved in each other. And these differing opinions help to form the basis of the debate, like this topic for today. Both sides actually have compelling points, and I'm going to highlight the main points. So, one hand, it's believed that an educated population promotes the democracy because yeah, the educated are better able to grasp the abstract notions of rights and obligations. And I also read about someone called Goldner. He stated that literacy is a necessary precondition for political awareness and activity. And with this point, he assumed that an educated populace will be able to understand how to vote in a democratic system more readily than those who are uneducated. And this point also maintains that when the populace understands how to vote in democratic system, they will be more likely to do so. So this being the case, like an increase in education leads to an increase in voting, which helps to develop a democratic society. So yes, the education and democracy is really has something like inexorably linked. Like education spreads, so does democracy as well. And actually, this has been proven across the world through the example as diverse, like in the 1970s in Latin America, where those two were strongly linked to the present day in Egypt, where a strong correlation between high rates of literacy and low rates of political repression can be seen. So a possible reason for this connection is that educated people are more likely to understand the benefits of democratic systems. However, it's important to remember that a country's level of education is not always a good indicator of its level of democracy. For example, there are countries with high level of education that have not yet made the shift from autocracy to democracy or have otherwise experienced setbacks in their democratic institutions. In such cases, it may be tempting actually to blame the lack of political freedom on the lack of educational opportunities available in their countries. And however, this would ignore other important factors. For instance, like some governments may simply be resistant to giving up power while they still maintain near total control over their citizens' lives. And it will also ignore the fact that many countries with poor levels of formal education have a rich history of participatory political activity among their non-elite population. Like another positive sign for democracy feature in those places, like in some countries. And I'm sure many of you might agree that education and democracy have a very close relationship to each other. Because in fact, education itself is a key factor that helps in developing a democratic society. And the government of a country has its own responsibilities towards the citizens of the nation. And this include providing quality education to every individual in order to build up a strong democratic society. For example, in the United States, it is one of the most democratic countries in the world. So the leaders, representatives,
I think Divi man has lost connection. She was a very good session was going on. Yeah, she has joined. Yeah, ma'am, please continue.
Apologize, I lost my connection. So like I have said, like for example, in my country, just because we have a democratic system doesn't mean that the presidents and all of the people who are in politics going to hear our thoughts or our opinions. So one way that actually government knows what is citizen think is through the surveys. That's the easiest way. And these surveys can be sent out by anyone. This days, especially we live in the digital age, like a government official, a non-profit organization, and even an advocacy group or even an individual citizen. So with these surveys, it's often biased because they only represent the people who took them, not the population as a whole one. So in order to get accurate result from these surveys, you need to look at the data represents all the citizens if you want to know all of it. So to determine how well a country's education system is doing at educating its students on politics and democracy, we can try simple take a look at how many students enroll in political science classes and how many people turn out the vote in every elections, at least in the last elections in each country. And the higher the numbers, the more likely it is that the citizens of that country understand their role in their government and are politically active as well. So what this mean for your country? If you're interested in raising awareness about your country's political climate or working to improve everything related to it, then you will want to make sure that people are educated. Because education is also important for building up a strong economy because it provides people with good knowledge and skills which can help them in their jobs. And the best way to build up an advanced economy is by making sure that the people are being educated enough so that they can perform their duties in effective manner. So if we talk about the democracy, it is the word that can come up in our mind related to the politicals. So it's often misused in the sense that people treat it as one several necessary components of a modern state. Actually, democracy is an outcome of having a certain level of education and consciousness among an electorate. So the most prominent example of this is United States, like I have said before, which has never been perfectly democratic and was only truly so for about like 20 years after the Civil War. Even today, many people think of America as a democracy when it's actually not. People who live in there might be agree because they feel it, they witness it. So we are actually a representative republic or democratic republic because no matter how educated its citizens are, if the majority is uninformed or misinformed about what it means to be democratic, then it's nothing going to happen. In fact, those who have fought to bring democracy to other countries have always done so with education in mind. Because education has always been a key for fostering and inform and engage the citizens with the capable, with the self-governance. So the impacts from education is really bring to the level of society. It gives people the tools they need to find work. They enjoy and make decisions to improve their lives. And it also helps prevent unnecessary suffering by teaching people how about they doing stuff. So education has been hailed as the cornerstone of a democratic society and has even been said to be required for the existence of one. So we have to know that maybe we think like if there is no much educated population, then it cannot be a democracy that we can face, but it's actually not always like that. Like in many countries, one of the main quality control mechanism for educational system is standardized testing, which seeks to measure student knowledge and skill at particular points in time. So yeah, it becomes such a correlation that we actually need to be tested in by the time. So a number of factors influence students' performance on standardized tests, for example, and including the socioeconomic status of their families. The level of income in a family can determine both the extent of resources available for schooling, as well as the level of stress that maybe parents bring up to the house and affects to the students, for example, to bring about something related to democracy, not only in a wide scale, but in the small scale, like even at the some some circumstances like at the home. So we can also take a look at the Ireland. Ireland has one of the lowest levels of corruption in Europe due to its high
Ma'am, have you lost the connection? Ma'am, you are there?
Oh, okay. Apologize. I guess my connection is really bad. Can I continue it again?
Please, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Very, very.
Okay. Apologize one more time. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Please continue.
Okay. So actually, there is strong correlation between the level of education in every region or the level of democracy in that region itself. And this can be proven actually by looking at the education level in each country, and we can try to measuring it against country with similar levels of democracy. So the stronger an individual's education, the more likely they are to vote and become informed about the current events that their country have. So when a group of people begin reading current events like election and so on, they also begin questioning their political leaders and growing more interested in political change. It is much harder for a government to fool a well-educated population, as educated people are able to identify false information and recognize when elected officials are lying. So I'd love to summarize my points here. First is an educated population helps determine how well-informed citizens are about current issues that happen in their countries. And educated population also able to recognize when politicians are lying. They also more likely to vote because they feel like their vote counts and matters, and the population has a stronger sense of a community, because yeah, education and democracy are both means to be end of the better society, because education teach people to be independent thinkers who can be self-sufficient and don't have to depend on the government for their needs, and democracy gives everyone a say in how actually the country is run and prevents any one of group having too much control. So we see these goals as being interconnected. Like education makes it easier for people to understand what's going on around them and make informed decisions about what they want for the future. And democracy makes it possible for them to keep this goal. Because yeah, education is also such a precursor to successful democracy. If people are uneducated and ignorant, they will be easily swayed by powerful leaders or corporations that can make them run roughshod over the country, or let's say like fool them easily. I think that's all my points for today. Thank you for listening, and apologize because I lost my connection several times.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think someone, please, everyone else, please just mute your mic, mute yourself. there is disturbance, continuous disturbance going on. Better because there was continuous disturbance because someone is not on mute, I think. Okay, ma'am, it was very nice listening to you. And the point which I like very much is okay, education because it is a key to like achieving democracy for the strength to strengthening the democracy. And yes, there are countries where they have higher levels of education. They have higher levels of education, but still their democracy is not so strong. But there are people where there are countries where the education level may be low, but they have rich history of democracy. Now, and you also stated about if the people are educated, how well they can, if they know about elections, they know about different policies, how they can help in electing good leaders. Good leaders might be the prime minister, chief minister, whatever it is. Similarly, I just have a small question for you. Like, how important is education for the political leaders as well to strengthen the democracy?
Like we know, thank you for the question. Like we know, the leader can lead anyone else, even a country, if they have no enough education. So they need to educate themselves first before they lead something. That's why, like Mr. Nahid Raza said, like we need to developing personality, right? He said that training in leadership and so on, its importance in education and related to the democracy. That's what we need, because even the leader, it's also really necessary to get enough education in leadership so they can lead a country or even any kind of the places with a balanced democracy and with the impact with what they want actually can be spread easily. And if they don't have enough education, how can they try to raise awareness to the citizens? How can they socialize to the people? How can they, okay, let's join this, or maybe let's be something like democratic system and so on. They cannot make a voice like that. They have to show them, and it means like the leaders need to show with their behavior. I think maybe that's why Mr. Nahid Raza said that we have to motivate the behavior of the people. Like it means like we cannot only say something, we have to show, the leader have to show how they behave well, and also how to speak and so on, not only influenced by the words but influenced by the real behavior, so people can really get in touch and can follow them, and they think like it's not so much weight if we try to follow democracy in the world. I think just like that.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. It was nice listening to you, and thank you very much for the beautiful answer again. And with one more speaker, Dr. King James has also joined. So we would like to hear more from you regarding education and democracy and how what is the relation between education and democracy. So you're there? Yes, I think he's there. So please.
Good afternoon from this end. I'm sorry, my connectivity has been having issues, but I hope you can hear me very well. All right, I've listened to some of the speakers while I was able to connect, and so far so good. I think I have a similar view that education, first and foremost, what is the importance of education? And there's a relationship between education and democracy, and then there is significance of education to democracy. Now, I want to look at it from this angle briefly to say that education is basically about improving student performance. Education is all about liberating the mind so that the mind is not limited by environmental circumstances, by what we call slavery, which might have been a product of upbringing. Now, what democracy stands for? Democracy stands for liberty, justice, fairness. As a matter of fact, there are 4 pillars of democracy which are common, 4 elements. First and foremost is the system of choosing and replacing leadership through free and fair election. That is basically what democracy stands for. It also stands for active participation of constituents, of citizens in the democratic process. Of course, it also has to do with protection of the rights of all. lastly, it has to do with the rule of law, in which the laws and procedures apply. Now, in these four aspects, you would agree with me that the nexus or connection between education and democracy is very significant, because education provides students with the opportunity to build skills which they need to help schooled, who are not. Education is the ability to like I said, to learn, relearn, and unlearn. Now, when you have dictatorial, autocratic mindsets as leaders who don't understand the importance of democracy, it only shows that they have not been schooled. Because if they were schooled and they went through a systematic learning process, then they should be able to appreciate. They should have been able to, or at least, even if it's at the basic level, know the definition of democracy. Know that democracy is all about government of the people, by the people, and for the people. With that simple, basic, fundamental knowledge, at least it should be able to guide their conduct. So there's a connection, there's a nexus, there's a link between education and democracy. Of course, educators are at the vanguard of liberty in the world, because they are at the forefront of the democracy, equal rights, progress, and all that. Educators help to liberate the mind. Most of the freedom fighters around the world, especially from the angle of the struggle for liberation, especially during the colonialism era. From the African perspective, I would tell you, we are more of students that went overseas for studies, and then by the time they were coming back, they came back with new knowledge, and then they were, they had to agitate for decolonization process, because they understood, their minds were liberated, they understood the importance of education. And through that decolonization processes, we had to exchange system of colonialism for democracy. Democracy thrives in many parts of the world because of that. So I can go on and on to say that the struggle for democracy and free public education, also a robust system of free public education is essential component of democracy, and is and is very crucial for survival. That is basic. Without a vibrant system of free education, public education that is free and affordable, it will be hard to arrive at a democratic system, and it will be hard so a free and public educational system is necessary for the survival and the advancement of democracy around the world. If you look at countries where there's so much restriction, there's so much, so much limitation, you realize that their public system does not allow for criticism, for a system that criticizes, that is progressive in nature, because it's progressive. So I think I want to stop here, just in case there are questions for me to answer. I can go on and on, but let me just say that there's a link between education and liberty, which is democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your views with us. Yes, Hadiana ma'am. Yes, I think you also want. Yes, you can ask a question, ma'am, please.
Okay, so okay, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think ma'am has some network issues now. Ma'am, you were about to ask a question. Choose right. Yes, ma'am, please continue. Ma'am, unmute yourself.
Okay, am I audible?
Unmute. Yeah, now you're audible.
Okay. So Mr. Nahid mentioned about to think clearly, right? So what actually is your idea if a country has a high rate of corruption and want to make the citizen think clearly about their democracy that the country itself has, even though they have a high rate of corruption? Do I need to repeat the question?
Sorry, is that a question for me?
Sorry.
Hello, is that a question for me, please?
Yeah, to Mr. Nahid.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please.
Yes, you mentioned about think clearly, right? So what is your idea if a country has high rate of corruption and they want to make the citizen think clearly about their democracy levels that they have in that country, even though they have a really high rate of corruption? What do you think the government has to do to make their citizens believe that actually they still can hold the strong democracy in that country with the corruption itself?
Our education system should be such that obedience is taught, inculcated, and fostered. Trust is generated among people towards the country, and people should be honest. It should be our education system first. Second thing, procedures should be such that corrupt people are caught, interrogated, right? So system should be such, and system would be only possible when people are educated, and honesty has to be prioritized. Trust has to be done, and discipline must be inculcated during the formative years of education. So we will see there wouldn't be any corruption, and people must think about their country. They should have patriotic feelings. So in this way, corruption will not be generated. Even if generated, procedure should be in place to curb it.
Does it mean it can be connected to what Dr. King said, like we have to maintain their mindset of the citizens as well? Like how actually we can measure the mindset of the citizens if the corruption rate is really high and they feel like the democracy, or when they try to say something to the government, they don't hear what the citizens say?
See, in democracy, they will have to care because the democratic process are such. Because if you are electing the people, that is only through you are franchising your opinion. If you are franchising in your opinion in favor of the honest people, and honest people will be elected only. So my submission to you is that we have to bring in education in such a manner that these things are taught, and participation in democracy begins from childhood. Means the classes should be democratic, the process should be democratic, and people must be allowed to take their decisions. They should have choice. Equality should prevail. Participation should be there, and you will see automatically corruption will be reduced.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So
Welcome.
actually, we have to start to implement it since
Yes.
their childhood, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for Dr. King, if we talk about the mindset of the citizens itself with the democracy and education, what actually do you think that can become a main points for the educators like teachers or even lecturers that can bring awareness to the society to have a high democracy for the country. Am I audible?
Sorry, is that my question?
Oh, okay. So for Dr. King, my question is, how can actually the educators like teachers and also lecturers, for example, try to make or build a good mindset to the citizens till they have a great thought about the democracy itself? What actually the main points that the educators can address to the society that democracy is bring the great benefits for our society?
Well, thank you for that question. I want to say that basically, education itself is a process of mind molding. It's about molding the mind. It's about, like I said, a process of learning and relearning and unlearning. And so, mind molding has to do with reorientation. So, it starts. Let me say, it starts with the teacher or with the lecturer. As a matter of fact, students look up to teachers as their role models, as their mentors, and all that. And so, a teacher or a lecturer who has very high ideals and noble character and lives up to that, has some level of integrity, is most likely to pass a strong message even without communicating it verbally. Through his actions. For instance, for say 10 a.m., you are there by 10. And I mean, when you show by example that it is possible to, and then your processes, your way of dealing with the students is also democratic in a way. You give them an opportunity to ventilate. Your manner of approach is not like you impose your knowledge on them, but you give them the opportunity to express themselves, to also learn from them. And then somehow, even the process of electing, say, class, I'm just at the basic level, say class rep or class chairman, you don't anyone on them. You are indirectly, gradually imbibing into them the culture and tradition of the democratic process. You are teaching them to understand how it works. It's not just democracy does not only work in the in the outer world where you have to do elections. It even works at home, in the families, at board meetings, and all that. Get people's opinion, make them part of the process, make them understand that they own the system and that the system can either work or fail depending on how much, So when you carry people along, so the mind molding thing starts with your class. There could be 10, there could be 20, there could be 50, there could be 100, but that number, let me give an example. I'm sitting right now in my office in the university. I have a particular class, law class, for instance. I have over 200 students in that class. If I can impact, influence, and mold the mind of these 200 students in just one level, then you can imagine the ripple effect it can have on the society at large. And we're talking about future leaders, people we are molding for the future. And so it's a gradual, it's not something that can happen overnight, but it's a gradual process of touch one, reach one, and the other one reach another one. And then it's a ripple effect. So it may not happen at once, but it's a systematic, deliberate, and intentional, but gradual process that can be achieved. So mind molding is a serious business, and is a subtle way of passing information. And for me, it has to do more with what is caught than what is taught. People are used to rhetorics, people are used to a lot of information gathering. But whether those things can be put into practice, or whether leading by example is another, when it is practicalized, when it is demonstrated through exemplary lifestyle. But it's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your great answer.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Thank you very much for the answers, and thank you, Diana ma'am, for the lovely questions. In fact, Now I think Dr. Emmanuel is also there with us. Dr. Emmanuel, are you there? Dr. Emmanuel, we would like to
Yes,
hear.
here I am.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I am here. I am. Yes, okay, thank you.
We would like to hear from you regarding this topic.
Oh, thank you very much. We are talking about democracy and education. I'll first say a few things on education because it is the foundation of democracy. We may not talk of democracy without talking much about education because those people who defend democracy clearly and better or uphold democracy in our countries are those people who are well educated and those who know what democracy is all about. Because in other countries where people do not understand about democracy, we have seen people doing things. We have seen people doing everything that they want. Why? Because they don't understand democracy. So for us to understand democracy, we need education. So education is the basic need that is needed for every person. That the person should at least understand more things through education. Because when you start learning how to read, you start learning how to write, you start learning how to do some other things. Also, now you start reading books. So when it comes to a point whereby now you start reading different books which have been written by different authors over the world, then it's when you start understanding what happens in the world, what is needed in the world, and also you understand what is supposed to be done by a human being, and also what is not supposed to be done by a human being. So through education is how we start learning what happens in the world, and also it is through the same education whereby we know what to do at what time. So when it comes to democracy, it is something that comes after education. So if democracy comes before education, then some people will misinterpret it. That's why you see in other countries, in many other countries, when people go for demonstrations, it is their right, of course. But when they go for demonstrations, what do? They damage a lot of things in their country. So those things that they are damaging are some of the infrastructures that are helping the same people. Why? It's because democracy has come before education. So the first thing that we brought in is education. Once we have education, and then later we bring in democracy, because people will understand what democracy is all about. It is a government of the people, for the people, and the people. So they know that the government that we have, it is our government. We ourselves as the citizens, we are a part of the government. So if we are part of the government, if the government is failing, where can we intervene so that we help the government do better in that particular country? But when we see the government as something that is separate, the understanding of democracy is because we have to understand that democracy is being collectively working together in a particular setting, to achieve a certain goal together. So when we look at democracy, that democracy is just diverse. It's something that comprises a lot of areas. When we are talking about democracy itself, more especially, something that is made up of a lot of citizens with the same or sharing the common goal. So that is to say, they have made up the government together. They sat down and form a certain government, and then they have got a vision in that particular government, and then they wanted to achieve that government. They have got goals and the like. So all those things are in that particular democracy. But because sometimes this democracy comes first before education, that's why we find that in other we find that this democracy has been misinterpreted. It's been misinterpreted all over the world in many areas, in many countries. Why? Because we brought it to the people without first bringing to them education. So you find that if we are not educating our children, if we are not educating this young generation, it means that we will have some problems as we go in terms of understanding what is a democracy. So that's why nowadays you find most of the demonstrations that are being conducted in many countries, most of the participants of the demonstrations are young people. So the young people, they go, they break stores, they break some shops, they break whatever is there. They take some things from there. They steal things from there in the name of democracy. So this is due because we haven't brought to them education first. We have to educate first. They should understand what is democracy. They should understand what is the role of a citizen in a country. They should understand what are the responsibilities of a good citizen. They should understand that if we are in a country, so this country is ours. There is nobody who will come and again and possess our country. Our country should be looked after by ourselves. We should take care of our country. That's why today, if we look into issues like climate change, global warming, and the like, sometimes you see that people are just watching things going astray. People are just watching things going being damaged because of the climate change and the like, because of the activities of the human beings. Why? Because they are not taking the responsibility. First of all, when we're talking about education, it is about their responsibilities as the citizens. So once they learn more about their responsibility to take it, that to come is the education, and later then we should come up with the democracy. First of all, people should learn what is democracy. They should go to school. They should go to colleges. They should go to secondary schools. They are going to learn a lot of things from there. They are going to learn about their responsibilities as citizens. They are going to learn what they should do in the country. And from there, then we bring in democracy. So democracy is something that they take it as a responsibility to say that we are working together collectively, so to achieve a certain goal in a particular setting. So they should not look into a government as a certain vehicle that is moving and that there are people in that vehicle and they are outside the vehicle. No, they should know that when we are talking about democracy, we are talking about a vehicle whereby we are inside that particular vehicle. If it goes into a ditch, we are going to fall together into that particular ditch. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a question for you. How can, being an educator, how can we teach democracy and the concepts of democracy in school to the students? So you are able to hear?
Okay. Yeah. Is it directed to me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To you.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. I think we need to have in our class, in our is to say, we needed to have this as a part of a curriculum. Our children should learn more about democracy, because we know if they don't know much about democracy, then we are going to end up failures. But we need to teach in our schools, starting from the primary school, secondary school, and even at the tertiary level. The students should learn more about a democracy, and this should start with the teachers. The teachers themselves should understand much about the components of democracy. They should understand much about democracy, because sometimes if the teachers themselves, they don't understand much about democracy, they will not be able to teach the children about democracy. They will not be able to tell the children that if we're talking about democracy, we're talking about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's their own government, and it's made by themselves. So it's their own thing. So they should understand that. So our children should understand that if you have got an exercise book, and that exercise book is your own exercise book, then you have to take care of that exercise book. Nobody will come and take care of your exercise book. They should learn that you have got clothes. You need to take care of your clothes. You have to wash them. You have to iron them. You have to take care of them so that they should not get torn. So they should also take the democracy as something that is they are sharing ownership in that particular democracy, so that they understand that this thing that is being run here is for us, it's made for us, and it's our own. nobody will come and teach you in this democracy, because they know democracy simply means that they are doing things together to accomplish a certain goal in a particular country. So teachers should be encouraged to at least make sure that the children learn more about democracy in schools, and also special education whereby people are learning more about political science. In those areas, they should also concentrate much on democracy, because this democracy has come into several countries from the Western countries. So we need to understand it. Sometimes we misinterpret it. Sometimes we don't understand it. So it is the responsibility of mentors, teachers, parents, guardians, all those people who are there to take a collective action together, so that we teach our children more about democracy. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful answer. And it is always, yeah, ma'am.
Can I ask a question to all speakers? I mean, related to one question.
Okay, you can ask, because I too have some questions, but please proceed.
Okay, so Dr. Emmanuel mentioned about the demonstration in many countries, mostly done by the young generation, right? Because they think it's a democracy. So I have a question for all speakers. If a government wants to make a campaign for young generation in all levels of education in order to raise awareness about democracy, will it be better to be online campaign, or is it supposed to be like a whole day training in one place?
Okay. My suggestion that it should be taken on both sides, online and also on the other side, because commissions to people are according to the countries where they're coming from. More especially if you talk of Africa, most of the people, they do not have the gadgets, they do not have the phones, they do not have the laptops, they do not have the Wi-Fi. So they cannot get the information from online. So there is need for other events that will involve more of these young generation to participate or to be trained in different areas. So more especially if you talk of Africa, then there is need for physical events or physical trainings that these young people should be trained in terms of democracy and the like. But if it is only online, I think most of the people will meet, because it's not gadgets that you can use to run things through online. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. And how about the other speaker's opinion?
Well, all right. I would like to align my thoughts with Dr. Emmanuel, but just to add that, okay, why offline or online is okay. I want to say that it is important to take advantage of the media, of the social media space, of every online space that can be taken advantage of, because statistically you have more young people online, despite the issue of digital gap and some people not being able to be reached and all that, and then infrastructural issues. The statistics shows that we have more people, we have millions of people online today, in fact billions today. I won't give you statistic as it is, but in Nigeria where I am today, out of about 200 million, we have 90 people are connected to the internet. Now, with that statistics, it means that you can actually, so you cannot leave out the cyberspace out of the equation. We have to take advantage of it. Many are, for instance, e-commerce, e-education. I personally have platforms where we deliver education online, and more people have access to education where they cannot have it on a conventional basis because of the importance or the advantage of the gadget and then internet. So I want to say that both means should be explored and taken advantage of, because you have more young people online than you have them offline. And also, talking about, I think there should be some kind of reorientation. Like he said, of course, we should have it from the curriculum that it should be taught. It should be, and then for me, education is not just what we get at the four corners of a secondary or university or tertiary education system. It's it can be informal, that is at the level of homes, at the level of the cultural societies and all that. Like I said, it's more practice even from home. But of course, we have the mass media. Before the advent of internet, we always had the mass media. So mass media like the television can be taken advantage of. There are some community radios that are very good in disseminating information. So the role of the orientation agencies, because in some countries they have national orientation agencies, and what they do is to create awareness. Though some governments officials take advantage of this to create more propaganda, but
I think Sir has lost his connection. Nahid sir, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. I think King sir has lost his connection. So I have a question for you now. Sir, how do you think what will be the role of youth in strengthening the democracy of any nation?
but
What will the
these
role of
agencies
youth?
can be used as a tool information
Yes, that.
to this of useful ideas, and then with that, educate them, particularly those who may not have the opportunity of
Youth can play very important role because youth has energy, youth has expression power, and youth want to deliver and want to embrace democracy. So youth can play very important role, and youth can participate in elections. Youth can cast their votes. Youth can campaign about strengthening the democracy among the old and the middle-aged people. So youth can do everything, and youth should have obedience, trust, discipline to deliver things better. And we need to have trust in our democracy, and youth has that trust. Youth sometimes protest because youth has higher expectations, aspirations. Otherwise, youth always favor democracy and constitutional well-being.
Yeah, that was a very good answer, sir. That was really a good answer. And yes, the same question to Haryana ma'am. Ma'am, what do you think? What will be the role of youth in strengthening the democracy of a nation?
Okay, so as we know that the youth is our future generation, and with the combine and the mix and the benefits of the digital age, actually the youth can take the power of digital age, and we can spread the news or any kind of the things faster than before. So with the high technology and high skills of the youth that have these days, actually we can make faster impacts in order to raise awareness like in democracy in other countries. Because from the youth, mostly they have a community. They stay, at least if they don't have a community, they have a social media. So they can easily, even without the conscious mind, they can without realize they share something that is important related to the current issue in their country. So the youth is really have a big impact in today's society because they can influence each other in their community, and they can also make a big impact in the mass amount because the youth is our future generation, and mostly the leaders this day, especially in my country, they try to maybe let's say get approached by the youth because they think like, okay, the millennial are matters and they want to get the sympathy from the youth. So we can say the youth has a really big impact for the future political or future generation, or maybe the successful of a country in the future.
Okay, ma'am. So, and now there is a question for all the speakers. I will just asking one by one. Let us see. Sir Emmanuel, sir, Actually, this is a question for everyone, but firstly, I would like to ask this question to Emmanuel, sir. What, according to you, is the biggest challenge for democracy?
Okay. According to me, the biggest challenge of democracy is the way we understand it. The way we understand the democracy. That's the challenge that we have, because in most countries, people do not understand the meaning of democracy. So sometimes they feel like democracy is doing everything that you want. It's doing something that may also violate other people's rights. So they don't know what that democracy is something that they have a responsibility of. They carry a responsibility. They make them, democracy make them to be responsible citizens. So understanding of democracy is a challenge in many countries, because when you talk about democracy, people feel like you can do whatever you want to everyone. You can even you can be fighting, you can be even driving on the right hand side on the road. You can be doing everything that you want. That is democracy to them, but that is not democracy, because the problem is that the understanding of democracy is that in most countries it's being misinterpreted. So that's why today we have linked the democracy and education, because education will help people to understand democracy. So that's why today we are talking about democracy and education, because we know that the biggest challenge that we have world over is that most of our people, most of the citizens, of the global citizens, do not understand the meaning of democracy, because they feel like if you talk of democracy, then I can even fight my wife, I can even fight everyone. Then I'm not going to be taken to prison because I have got a right to fight everybody. That is democracy. No, democracy is taking responsibility of your government and you see that you are making sure that no rights of people are being violated. According to me, I think the biggest challenge is understanding the meaning of democracy. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very, very well said. That was an excellent answer, in fact. We need to firstly understand what is democracy, because that is something where the people fail to understand what is the meaning of democracy, what are your rights, what are your responsibilities, and somewhere there they just misuse this word democracy, and that is why a lot of problems are being created. Yes, over to you, Haryana ma'am. What do you think? What is the biggest challenge for democracy?
Okay, actually agree with Dr. Emmanuel, and I want to add like the other biggest challenge, in my opinion, is actually building trust. Actually, in this 20th century, not all people don't know about the democracy. They have at least 20 to 30% on their mind about what actually democracy means. Because since we were child, they actually have witnessed on the news, on the broadcasting, or in TV show and everywhere about the democracy itself. Even the kindergarten, actually the teacher already taught them in some countries. So the biggest challenge, in my opinion, is building trust, because, like, for example, people don't believe or they don't wait about democracy, like the easiest example, like voting in election, because they don't trust the maybe the leaders or the elected elite politics and so on. So the challenging is, if the citizen itself don't have enough trust with the government, they are going to stuck. No matter how much the government try to educate them, if they don't have the right trust on their mind, then they are not going to go anywhere. Because yeah, if we trust, or if we try to at least implement or at least try to educate them about some kind of the soft skills, then they might get them easier than directly we try to educate them. Because mostly people don't actually use their mind. Mostly people actually use their feeling. Like many people use their feelings to make a decision. So if they have enough trust, even though they don't know much about that thing, then it's easy for them to follow such a rules or to follow some steps that the government say for them. But if they don't have enough trust feeling, to the government or to the leaders in their areas, then they are not going to do anywhere. So I think the biggest challenge is building trust to each other, especially the connection from citizens to the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the beautiful answer. And your same question to you, Dr. King, sir. Dr. King, what would you like to say? What is the biggest challenge for democracy?
All right, thank you. Let me just add, based on what the two speakers have just spoken, that the major challenge for me is actually the abuse of that concept itself. Now, an abuse is when something is misused, is taken advantage of, and misappropriated. Now, you have systems where democracy is working as it ought to. Meanwhile, there are other climes where what you see is a caricature of what democracy and democratic, culture entails. You see all forms of human rights violations because someone was so-called democratically elected, and then when I say abuse, it includes electoral malpractice, where the wrong people find themselves in power, and they don't want to. They can't ordinarily. They can't even if it were to be under a free and fair and violent free election, they won't find themselves where they are. They won't have elected. They won't elect, and they become heretic than even a military or a despot, because because of their agenda and because of their abuse of this process. They understand that power belongs to the people, and the people, and then democracy gives people the power to operate. But because they have found themselves there, either through the power of the guns or power of their money or the power of the people's ignorance, I'm saying this from a practical, common in most developing countries. And one of the reasons why they remain developing up to today is because of the abuse of power. Some of
So please unmute yourself. So please unmute yourself. Okay,
and system of so even when they find themselves in a democratic setting, the mindset is still that of the traditional system. And so it is easy for them to abuse power, to misuse power, and even take advantage of, or maltreat their opponents just because they feel they are now in power, and then they are drunk with that power. So that abuse, and then the people, because they are not well conscientized, are not well oriented, they don't tend to use their power, which is the power to recall these people or the power to protest. Even the protest is being silenced, and so it's a major challenge for the 21st century, especially in the. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, over to you, Nahid,
All right,
sir.
thank you.
What, according to you, is the challenge for democracy?
According to me, it is, in my opinion, it is economic disparity, over exploitation of resources. These are the biggest challenges. If balance is there, we will see the people will see immediate problems only, and they wish to get it solved. Likewise, people are amassing. People are amassing wealth, and then what will happen? One would be very rich and one would be poor. So economic disparity and over exploitation of resources. Say water is exhausted, what will happen? Fossil fuel is exhausted, what will happen? So these two challenges are the biggest challenges for the democracy.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, Dr. Bedkar, sir, are you there? I think I can see him, but okay, by the time sir joins again. Yes, Nahid, sir. So, what message would you like to give through this platform, and how would you like to conclude this debate?
I would like to I would like to conclude by saying that the best art is to live together. We need to serve people. We should help each other. We should listen, and we should listen specifically what is unsaid, and we should try to make the world a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Dr. Emmanuel. So, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
will be the message?
I
How
would
would you
like
like to
also to say
conclude?
that, yes, okay, thank you. What I would say is that we should work together as a global community. When we are working together as a global community, we are going to achieve the goals and the visions that have been set. It is really very difficult to bring a vision into effect, but we should make sure that we are working collectively as a global community so that we achieve our goals. We love each other, we work together, we are working towards the goal, and then I think this will help us to do much. And we should also not forget to teach our children, to put them in schools, to tell them more about their responsibilities, and also to make sure that they are responsible citizens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, over to you, Dr. King. So, how would you like to conclude today's discussion?
Well, thank you for having me. Last, I just want to conclude by saying that we need a system. Okay, we need to promote education at the basic level. Now, the universal education. There's this universal basic. I think we need to promote that, and of course, part of the SG, we need to promote a system of free and basic education, even if it's at the primary level. But at least we need to promote education in as much as we promote democracy. We need to promote the two at the same time, so that one will not go ahead of the other, and then we have a caricature, basically. So both need to be promoted at all levels. Thank you.
Yes, over to you, ma'am. Viviana, ma'am. How would you like to conclude this session? And also, according to what message would you like to give to everyone who's listening to us? Yes,
Okay, so to conclude this, that I think people need to be more loyal but still have enough empathy to other and become more conscious in whatever actions they going to take. So even though they think like they have a democracy laws, they are not going to destroy or harm each other. So we need to empower that people have to be an empathetic person in this world in all conditions. I think just
thank you, ma'am. And Dr. Baker, sir, I think now you are here. Sir, I'm audible. Dr. Baker?
Yes, madam. Thank you. I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
I'm audible. Thank you.
Yes,
For completing complete series under your supervisorship and as a host. Every resource person contributed best one, and first of all, congratulations to you and all IDYM team and all technical team. So democracy and education, these are related to each other. For the best education, there should be a best democracy. If the democracy is not up to date, means up to that standard, then no system of that country can't be developed. Maybe education, maybe research, maybe any progress, financial, all these things. So for having a best democracy, there should be best education, and for best education, we have to educate the people such that they should able to handle the every problem with democracy, and that country with all citizens will do everything for everyone, for the country, and for the education every sector. Thank you, madam. It's from me for this today, and congratulations to you again.
Thank you very much, sir. It is always nice listening to you and that you attend all of the sessions and you are there to always to guide us. So before leaving, I have just had some very few important points, but I actually took out when you, all the speakers, all the eminent speakers were speaking. Firstly, like we need to understand the meaning of democracy. Secondly, we need to develop trust among the people. Third, we need to avoid taking disadvantage of the opportunities or the facilities that have been provided to you. And fourth is we need to avoid over exploitation of resources. So this was some very important points, and moreover, the point that was being told by Dr. Emmanuel that we need to work together as a global community, and only then the aim of strengthening the democracy. Of course, we need education, but somewhere we need to work together at the global level with by raising, by just removing all the kind of inequalities among us. Only then we'll be having a good education level as well as a good democracy in the country. So with this, we come to the end of the fifth day and of course the last day of the month series. And all the 5 days were very good. Firstly, I would like to thank the speakers of today, Nahid Raza sir, Dr. Emmanuel, Haviana Devi ma'am, and Dr. King sir, and of course Dr. Bedkar sir who was present with us. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
And I thank all the speakers for all the 5 days, because it was again a series of 5 days where we had participants from 10 countries and we had 20 speakers, and all of them have given very good inputs there. Thank everyone for sharing your views with us, and thank you, Ravi Shankar sir, for this opportunity, and the team of IDYM for supporting us, for your constant support, guidance, everything throughout. Thank you, and all. Let me take it goodbye. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all. Good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.